want to be an Ironman in 2020? Do you want to feel the overwhelming accomplishment of crossing that finish line after a 2.4 mile swim, 112 miles of biking, and 26.2 miles of running? Do you want to be a part of that pure bliss as they announce your name as you run down the finish line and confirm that you, yes you, are an Ironman? Do you want the magic of having that finisher's medal slipped over your neck as your family cheers with pride and admiration? Well, boo f***ing who, cause that ain't gonna happen this year. But Ironman Corporation is super excited to announce a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for you to sign up and pay for a full Ironman or half Ironman without any chance of you actually competing in the event. And you can feel the rush as you click the submit button on the Ironman website. You'll feel the agonizing pain as the $700 race entry fee leaves your bank account. And your heart is going to race as you try to explain what happened to your significant other. And Ironman promises to leave you in the dark about whether or not the event is actually going to happen or not, so that you can bask in the anticipation of whether or not you're actually going to have to do this thing. But rest assured, Ironman Corporation knows full well that it's not going to happen, but we won't ruin the suspense. And the game really starts to heat up when you try to get a refund for a race that isn't going to happen. Can we interest you in transferring your race entry fee to a quarter Ironman distance in the beautiful province of Wuhan, China? Because that's your only option. So why race to become an Ironman when you can just pay to become an official Ironman register? Because we at Ironman Corporation not only care about your race entry experience, but we also care about you, the individual. I mean, not you the individual, but your individual bank account.
Okay, 3 things before we start. The first thing is, take that trailer as a little tongue-in-cheek. Yes, it was meant to be provocative.
No one knows what it means, but it's provocative. No, it's not. It gets the people going.
It was meant to offer an opinion, but take it with a pinch of salt, because this channel is all about positivity at the end of the day and being light-hearted. And the second thing is, before we go down this rabbit hole, before we start this journey and offer our opinions, I want you to know, I need you to know, that we love Ironman, the brand. It's iconic. It inspires people to do things beyond what they thought was possible, and it inspires people to get involved. But I also believe that if you think that a brand or a company or a person that you love messes up in some way, they have to be held accountable for their actions. That's what this is. And the third thing is a huge thanks to Matt Legrand for the trailer. It is, I hope you'll agree, brilliant, and more from him later. But if you haven't subscribed to him already, here's the link, here's his details. Get over to his channel and show him some love. Now, this all started for me a year ago, about 13 months ago, where I was 3 weeks out from my first ever Ironman Copenhagen, and I was hit by a car and broke my collarbone. And that was within 45 days of the race for the Ironman. And unfortunately for me, when you get into that situation, you cannot get your money back, regardless of whether it was your fault or not. Within 45 days, it's done. Kiss goodbye to the £600. That's what it was. And in the craziest twist of fate, on the other side of the Atlantic Ocean, in fact nearer the Pacific than the Atlantic, a friend of mine, a couple of weeks before, Matt, had gone through similar. You know what? I'm going to let Matt explain what happened to him.
Okay, so what happened in my situation was I was actually going for my very last long bike ride before my Ironman race. This was before Ironman Canada. And just oddly enough, about 30 miles into the ride, I was riding and the stem of my Trek Speed Concept just snapped in half while I was going downhill, roughly about 30 miles an hour or so, maybe 50 kilometers an hour. It just, nothing I could do. I went down pretty hard on my right shoulder, and I didn't actually break my collarbone like I thought, but I did basically separate this joint. It's called like an AC joint separation, So now permanently I'm gonna have this slightly deformed shoulder, which is a bit frustrating. And one of the first things that I did was call Ironman and just be like, hey, you know, this is my situation. You know, I'm in the hospital. I'm definitely not gonna be able to race the Ironman event in 2 weeks. Is there anything that you can do? And they replied back after a couple of days and just said, you know, this late and this close to the race, that basically there was nothing that they could do, and that my money and my entry fee was just completely lost.
That was unlucky for us, wasn't it, Matt?
Yeah, absolutely. I am so amazed that, like, when I got that message from you, like, hey, 1 week later after this had happened to me, it happened to you. And I was following your journey, like, ready for you to race. And I was like brokenhearted for you.
And similar, and the same for you. It's crazy that it happened to the both of us, but I guess what I understand about last year is I understand why I didn't get my money back last year, because we've spoken about it before, haven't we? The fact is that we both crashed and broke our collarbones within that 45-day period, but also crucially the event, like, it went ahead, so they had people racing. They paid marshals, volunteers, set ups, like for the I guess they had to pay for running the event in the place they're running. It's a cost.
Yeah, you know, I'm probably more bitter about that. I mean, I think that they should probably take that extra step for athletes that, you know, have some sort of like tragic injury or death in the family or something like that, and give them some sort of option. But it's way more understandable when you have that situation where it's like, hey, race is paid for, your packet is packed and good to go, like it's ready to go for you, you know, and then you're not showing up for the race. So you can definitely understand where they're coming from. Like, yeah, you've lost your race entry. There's not much we can do about it. We've already done all this work. It's much more understandable in that scenario for sure.
So we both understand it, and it's not ideal, but it's far, far more understandable than what happened this year. This year I was once again locked into Ironman Copenhagen, having paid for a second time to get it over and done with. And then the pandemic hit. That's no company's fault, but how you respond to it is entirely on a company. And for me, Ironman made a couple of crucial mistakes. Firstly, they waited until we were definitely past the 45 days to go until the race to make the announcement that it had been cancelled. This is key because it's the cut-off point that any refunds are possible. It was literally the next day. Was that calculated or coincidence? Then, considering they'd not be able to fulfill their obligation to provide a race, the options they presented were staggering to me. Option 1 was deferment to Ironman Copenhagen 2021. Option 2 was to compete in Ironman Kazakhstan, a nice, easy, cheap destination to reach. And option 3, Ironman South Africa, again, just around the corner from Copenhagen. After the initial outcry, Ironman did change their stance a little and state that if you could find a race with entries still open, they'd transfer you to that. But let's face it, that wasn't going to happen. So this year feels so different to last year. To me, I don't know about you, but last year, as much as it wasn't what we wanted to happen and it still wasn't perfect, it was, you could understand what happened. I'm struggling to understand this year the decisions.
Yeah. I agree. I think that Ironman is really like taking this to a different level of, I would say, like customer service, right? Where they're missing out on this customer service piece and they've taken it up another level. And I know that the situation is drastic for them. I mean, it's drastic for any race organization. But I think the questions that I would have are they letting go of that customer service piece as a result? And that's kind of like an upper management decision-making point, right?
Yeah, it feels cold. It just feels cold because, like, you're right, you know, the companies that you hear about that are fantastic for customer service, and I don't know if you know, I don't know what Challenge are doing in this same situation. I don't know what the Challenge brand are doing because they're not much in America, are they, Challenge? But
They have a couple of races.
Yeah, I don't know what they're doing. I'd be interested to find out. But it felt like if Ironman were to offer me my money back, I probably would have appreciated it and not taken it. But the fact that I had the option, because I was going to do Copenhagen next year, whatever, like, you know, but I am actually now just wound up that I wasn't even offered the option to have my money back, because there might be people racing Copenhagen next year who literally cannot race Copenhagen next year, and that is money gone unless they go to Wuhan.
Yeah, I mean, Wuhan's probably the safest place to race, in all honesty.
When people are watching this, they'll probably just think we're pounding on Ironman, but we feel passionate about this because we both love Ironman, right? It's iconic. It's something that we're invested in personally. It's something we've both done in terms of Ironman branded events, and it's like, I love this brand and I've been hurt by it.
Yeah, and I think the brand has been sketchy for a while. It's just that you know, just like you said, like, we love the event, like, we love the history, we love, you know, and the way I would say it is, like, we love Ironman, we don't love Ironman Corporation.
And that's what we want to feel, is we want to feel part of a family, and right now it doesn't feel very family oriented in terms of how we've been treated, and it's just, it's an upset. It's not bashing on a company, it's an upset because we love a company, or we love what we think it stands for, or what should stand for.
Yeah, and it's been tough for them because I know that they have, you know, these are all a whole bunch of individuals that all probably have good intentions. It's just like policies and things like that that clearly are not working well for individuals. And you look at the history of it, where their company has been like bought and sold, and just like debt has just been dumped on them. And the history of Ironman brand itself, it's like World Triathlon Organization, is just not pretty, right? It's basically been the stepchild that a lot of these private investment corporations have dumped on. So they're in a bad place, and it's really rough to see them put their athletes in a bad place.
So where does that leave us? I'll be honest with you, I personally am really hurt by this, but I also understand that companies have to try and survive, and what I would suggest is that maybe this is a far more long-term problem, as Matt just said there, and if you watch some of Triathlon Taron's videos, then you'll know that Ironman has repeatedly been bought and sold and put in debt, and this is a problem that goes back a long, long way, and my suggestion here is that their reason for doing was not right at the start. And let's start a conversation here in the comments. Tell me what you think about this, because this is meant to start a conversation. This is meant to get to Ironman, to see if they can change their ways, because I'm passionate about it. I love what it stands for, and I love that people know, non-triathletes, non-runners know about Ironman and what it is and what it means to people, and that is special. And that special has been ruined by certainly not the majority of individuals that work within the Ironman Corporation, but somewhere along the way someone has poisoned the water, because I have long thought that Ironman feels like a corporation, like a company, whereas if you do challenge events or local events, it feels like a family. In fact, the challenge lot of events are called the Challenge Family. It's just a way of thinking and a way of doing, and I really believe and have believed for a long time now that Ironman have got it wrong. And this might be karma coming back to bite them when long term you do things for the wrong reasons, when you play the game for the wrong reasons, then you don't last. People cotton on, people move away. And I know the majority of people that have been signed up for the Ironman or have done Ironman I've spoken to have said this will be their last Ironman when they get to do their deferred race, and probably the same with me. But I would be interested to hear your thoughts, so let me know in the comments. Just, you know, these are all opinions, so make sure we keep it above the belt. No low blows, thank you very much. That's not what this channel is all about. It is about creating conversation. I hope you enjoyed the video. It's very different to the content that I usually make, but I think it's something that we needed to make, and Matt and I were both passionate about this topic. I'll see you in the week for another tutorial. Ironman, if you want to respond, hit me up.